even know what a Stallone cut is, little dog?
Stallone Cuts. Stallone Cuts. Sylvester Stallone Cuts. Stallone Cuts. Stallone Cuts. Sylvester Stallone.
Leaders to gangs.
Second Decree. Third episode of Tulsa Kings.
Yep.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tulsa Kings, Stallone Cuts, an offshoot of our podcast, Stallone Cuts.
For sure.
I'm your host, Malenko.
And I'm Alex.
Nice to meet you.
And here we are today again on another episode of Tulsa Kings.
Yeah.
We're into it. We're into the show.
It?
Cold open Stallone, Nazi cold open Stallone. We get a little bit of a sense of what Tulsa's like and what the ATF is dealing with in Tulsa.
38 minutes, Stallone.
38 minutes, dude.
Yeah, Nazis.
I mean Walter White Stallone.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it feels like appropriately white supremacists would be the villains of the show, because Stallone has to show that his policies would never equal out to Nazi policies anyway.
That's the thing. That's where, okay, so Stallone, man, it's interesting because we're going to talk about it in the movie that we're going to talk about for Stallone Cuts today, but man, like, it's like race is always present in Stallone movies and in Stallone things.
Yeah, for sure.
He's always talking about it. He's always saying something. I mean, I don't know.
No, I don't know.
I gotta water my trees.
I gotta water my trees. How did you feel about this cold open? The explosion that happened?
Well, okay, so like it proves
explosion.
again that libertarians explode their own houses. That's a thing.
As opposed to exploding your own hideout, as Stallone does.
I'm gonna let my dogs out. Don't hurt them. They're good boys.
They're good. Yeah, that. I don't know, the way they
humanize the Nazi. Yeah,
I mean, like,
I know.
The saddest way of humanizing a person,
and also it's like also yeah, that's true. And by like they're like because we don't know who this is yet, but at first we get a guy who comes and he's like, I'm just here to check it out.
Oh man, he's so like, I'm just here.
He's just kind
no
of,
need to look at me, officer. We probably should do poverty shaming.
No, okay. Oh yeah. So speaking of that, because we've been doing Southern accents, but we talked about Tulsa being in the Midwest.
Yeah,
it's kind of in between. It's more considered the South. It's considered the
more
South.
Considered. It's more considered in the range of Alexander Skarsgård, who can do this accent. And it's a Southern accent, right?
The only power you had over me is gone.
I mean, yeah, dude.
I mean, that's basically what it feels like sometimes, is like people doing like
a Southern accent?
No, like the new version, the modern version of a Southern accent now is not Foghorn Leghorn. Counselor, come out wherever you are. It's fucking it's always this. It's swallowing your birds.
Well,
in
it
your
depends.
Mouth.
It depends
like
on what part of the South.
Your mouth.
No, it depends on what part of the South.
No,
they're
but
from.
this is, I'm talking about like actors in particular.
Yeah, that's true.
Because Garrett Hedlund
they work on that shit though.
But Garrett Hedlund is definitely doing a person that he knows or something like that.
Who's that again?
Well, does he have a name, or should I call him Lawyer?
He's the bartender.
Oh, I love
great.
it. We'll get to that. Let's go through it.
Stallone.
So cold open Stallone.
And explosion Stallone.
Libertarian explodes his house, and ATF Stacy's mom is there.
Going on. Now I was watching the pod, and I was just like, oh man, I'm so boring. I need to imitate my and I realized in the moment of watching it, I was like, oh man, Milik was actually not a bad actor. He just years ago understood YouTube would exist one day so that he could make outrageous faces.
Stacy's mom, Scott. Yeah, it's true. I think that okay, so where were we with Stacy? So cold open Stacy, and then Stallone.
Yeah, Stallone pours his espresso.
I gotta have my espresso.
I gotta have my espresso.
So he's sitting there drinking his espresso, and he Twin Peaks another horse.
He Twin Peaks is another horse, and that hot lady, the barista, is like, "Oh, Stallone."
Oh man, okay.
It's so thirsty for Stallone.
Okay. So because at first she's like, "Oh, that horse lives about a mile down that way." It's like, why did they just let him walk around like that? They don't let him do anything. You know, some horses just don't like the pasture. What did she say? And he's like, "Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Some people don't like the pasture." And then she's like subtly thirsty for Stallone.
Yeah,
she's like. Oh,
it's just
it's the version of Terminator when in the bar.
Hillbilly music.
Oh,
yeah, totally. And you know what? I feel fine with this. I feel you. I'm right here. I feel fine with this episode. I feel fine with it.
I feel fine with it too.
And it felt like a little bit like the first episode.
Well, maybe just a little bit.
It felt like some not great cutting. Some not great humor, not a good balance of humor. I did like the fact that it was like a wacky, I'm going to get my license today and I'm going to get into a wacky situation.
Oh man. Okay, so he's driving with Tyson
and he's driving the car.
Man, like, yes, this is what I want to tell you. I think you're right. I think Tyson is one of the worst written characters, but one of the best acted characters.
He's so good.
He's so good.
He's so good at delivering terrible
some of the lines are really terrible. And like, I'm like, it's a little bit like, I don't think they know who this character is. I think Tyson, the actor Jay, knows better who the character is than the writer does.
Yeah, it's just, he's a little bit too sweet, but not in a way that's like naive. It's like the writing feels a little bit out of place for him entirely. And he feels like he's filling in a huge shoes.
He's doing some heavy lifting.
Yeah.
But like, I love this scene though, between the two of them. Like, he's like, hey, it unfolds the story more.
Because he's like, you got to show your signals. And he's like, on your test, you got to show your signals.
And he's like, well, nobody do that anymore. I don't do that anymore. Nobody does that. I've been
driving since I was 13.
No, nobody does that. And then he's like, hey, he's like, I could drive. He's like, you could drive. Yeah, I mean, I'm paying you for it.
Yeah,
of course you could.
And then the Henry Hill reference, the Goodfellas reference.
But that wasn't here. That was in the other scene where they go back. Here, he's like, hey, like, he's thinking about his future. It's interesting. Because he's ambitious.
Where do you see me in 5 years?
Well, yeah, he's like, because we got the sense from the last episode that his dad is like, there's some unfulfilled potential there. And his dad's like, I didn't raise you to be like a kind of, he knows he's doing something shady. He knows he's got an Escalade. And it's like, something's not going right. And even Stallone is like, I should never let you park the Escalade there, later. So like, there's some hints about like, Tyson's place in the world.
Yeah, totally.
And he's feeling insecure about where he's at. Like, he's like, like, what do I do? Like, am I going to be able to make more money? Like, can I make a career out of this?
Can I like move up in the world? And everybody's dressed awesome in this episode. all the like
Stallone, dude, with those like fucking like snake skin shoes.
Yeah, I love it.
So what happens after the scene when they're when they're like doing the driving lesson between the two of them?
Well, right after they head back to Bodhi, and Bodhi's having a giant party.
Fucking whip it, Stallone.
Oh man, yeah, totally. Fucking, I couldn't help but think.
And he's like, woo, woo.
Yeah,
woo, woo.
Totally. And it's hilarious because I couldn't help but think also a big Lynch connection where in a David Lynch connection where it's like what's his name did Whippets in Blue Velvet, Dennis Hopper.
He's like,
don't you fucking look at me.
And
Yeah, so scary. And initially, how did you guess? Not for this show, but initially, David Lynch wanted it to be helium, and he was like, "Oh man, imagine doing don't you fucking look at me with helium voice instead of." But what does this
hilarious.
accurately is doing the low voice, because what happens when you
But it was
like,
a little too low. It was like
was
kind
a
of
little bit
Freddy low.
too-
It was like
it was too
they
low.
used something called very speed. Welcome to prime time, bitch.
yeah,
Yeah. I think that Stallone.
hates Whippets, hates people who do those kinds of
Okay.
drugs, for sure.
What? Not only I don't
Would be
there-
so judgmental.
No. Like not at all. But there's something about Whippets that like makes me so scared. Like the idea of like it being like a lung capacity thing, and it being like Whippets terrifying.
Why? You've done so many other drugs. I mean, I guess I've done probably more, but
You've done more. I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with Whippets. Like they just like scare me.
speaking of
He's like,
drugs,
how many tanks could I get out of?
Oh, yeah, totally.
I just like numbers.
yeah, Bodhi gets given a Barlow, a nice Barlow, and he's like, "Oh,
Oh, you
thanks."
shouldn't have. And he's like, I could see that.
Yeah.
Stallone's got good. He delivers the lines really well.
Yeah, for
my
sure.
Knight in Dwight armor, or what is it? My Dwight Knight.
No, yeah, by Dwight. I loved that line. I thought that was great. He
It
does
also
a really good
it also
job.
alludes to like white knights
knighting?
and
Yeah,
like
yeah,
and
totally.
like the kind of like white supremacists we're gonna get at this, because he's like, they're a different crowd. They charge 10 for a whippet.
Yeah,
and like,
totally. And then Grace is like, "I'm sorry, but I'm very triggered by you," and he's like, "Triggered?"
Oh, it's Stallone not
triggered?
understanding what triggered means. It's okay.
The other day,
It's-
when you hit Fred with the bottle.
it's so knowing from Stallone. It's so piece of shit, like knows Stallone. He's so knows Stallone.
A little fragile.
Oh man, he thinks this
A little
generation.
fragile.
This generation.
Hey, a little fragile. In the next scene, we get the reintroduction of Garrett Hedlund. And
Who's Garrett Hedlund again?
Well, does he have a name, or should I call him Lawyer?
oh man, dude, maybe you should stop smoking weed. Mitch Keller is the name of the bar owner.
Fuck. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
I-
He's the one who talks like this.
He talks a little bit like yeah.
Technically, this is a restaurant, right?
So you could buy whippets,
You can buy whippets and pretend you're making whipped cream.
and we sell them at $10 a pop. What you got to figure? That's like $3,500. What's that? $100,000? Like they like do some quick math.
Yeah,
they do
for
some
sure.
Stallone. They Stallone some math.
Totally. And then him, like Mitch being like, my favorite line by the writers, like them doing it, are the more subtle ones. Like
Me too.
Like when he goes, he's like, let's just say there's $10 a pop. The Stallone math. And him being like, well, it's a little over $100,000, and
Which is the amount that he owes Jay. What's his name? The guy who he punched out.
Vince.
Vince. It's the
Yeah.
amount he owes.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, for punching his jaw open.
But yeah, totally. But him being like this is a restaurant, right? That's debatable, but technically, stuff like that. I'm
So
less.
what if you had a sudden need to make some whipped cream? I don't know.
Yeah, and he's like, I like the sudden need of whipped cream because
That's such a good line.
because he's like, come to think of it, I just might.
Yeah,
that the subtle. I like that subtlety
It's
more
good.
than the other
It's,
subtlety.
because it's like it's cool in the way real people
Yeah,
can be. You know
yeah,
what I
because
mean?
you
Like,
could see somebody, as opposed to being like, just being super clever about, being very writerly about it.
It is
Being
it can be
very Aaron
annoying.
Sorkin about it.
Oh, Sorkin, yeah, totally.
Being very Gossip Girl about it.
Oh man.
Um,
But then the next
Scene, he gets picked up by Tyson in the Mayo, and we see the sketchy, what's his name again?
Well, does he have a name, or should I call him Lawyer?
Oh, you're talking about Benny from Sopranos.
Yeah, Benny from Sopranos.
He was like,
Yeah,
he's like
Benny.
He's like, he comes into the scene and he's like binocularsing Stallone, and he's like, oh man, Stallone, I should kill him.
Yeah, totally. And they're going to obviously get his license.
Yeah,
And the guy who comes out, like,
he's such a Kevin McDonald.
It's such a Kevin McDonald, and also Stallone going, these guys never change.
Like,
You know
he's
what?
calling him a fucking loser.
Your old man, Mr. Loser.
Like, Stallone for sure is calling this guy a fucking loser.
But you know what? I appreciated
it's
the
true
fact
though. Those guys never change. It's
those
always a
guys
guy
all
like that.
Like that, yeah. And they have to be, because they like rules.
Yeah.
And they like enforcing the rules.
They do.
But they like
They're
also
bureaucracy people. They're like
also
the people who
ha-
become cops. Not the same type of person, but it's a type of person that gravitates towards that kind of position.
I mean, that's the thing. With this guy, I appreciated the Breaking Badness of this character. He felt like a Breaking Bad kind of character.
Like a Breaking Bad normal.
Yeah, totally. They've got a lot of good normal guys in this.
Oh man, it's like just turn left for start.
Yeah,
I love that
the
condescending
turn left.
patience.
Yeah.
Well, just for start
Twice.
I haven't done this in a while. Yeah, well, to start, just turn left.
Yeah, and then when they're going, and he's like, "I'm from New York." Oh, I went to New York in the '80s once.
Got robbed by a guy with a samurai sword.
This guy.
Well, it's not for everyone.
Yeah, totally.
You can also tell because he thinks he's a fucking loser that he's like, New York's not for everyone.
Yeah, totally. But also, it's like, oh man, when he points too, he does the pointing.
what?
And go over here and do a K turn. I've never heard it referred to as a K turn.
So is that a three-point turn?
Yeah,
I was like K turn.
K
Yeah, I guess
turn.
it spells the letter K. I don't know. I mean, he told me that I gotta get the. Sing me a song.
No, that's more gentle. Like,
Gotta get away.
get away, holy diver.
Yeah.
Anyway, Armand drives right up to Stallone and tries to fucking shoot him.
He's wearing a balaclava on his
Balaclava.
head. He's wearing a balaclava. Oh.
Hi, Stallone! Don't get shot by that man in the other car. Hi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And he hits the fucking loser with
He,
like,
grazes
grazes him, and he's like, I have to go to the hospital.
and Stallone immediately whips into
Yeah, he's like,
reaction mode. Yeah, like okay, this was
Oh,
like
man.
cool car chase
Yeah,
Stallone.
totally.
I mean, it wasn't.
Also, this fucking.
It wasn't
Escalade
this, but it was
It feels like this car would go so much faster than this other car.
like Benny wouldn't have been able. I was said the same thing. He would have been like
been able to
outrun.
escape from
Yeah,
this,
he wouldn't
right?
have been able to escape.
But I love that he tried to like take it into his own hands and like crappy balaclava.
It's very. There's something very like
Haphazard about it,
Yeah,
slapdash about it.
exactly, and like quickly assembled, quickly done,
Yeah.
not well thought out.
That's my favorite Baking Bad trope.
But wouldn't here's my question. Wouldn't Benny see Stallone and be like, why is he getting a fucking driver's license? Like, if he's just here to kill me, you know what I mean? Like, he thinks he's there to kill him.
Well,
I don't give you enough information to think.
Trang.
And we don't have enough information
Yeah.
yet about.
You don't have enough information to think. You do what you're told. That's what you do. Repeating it. But yeah, the loser is like, oh my god, I need to go to the hospital. And he's like, look, shut the fuck up.
when he says that, look, shut the fuck up. He is scary. He's legitimate.
a scary dude.
When he's scary in this show.
I'm the bad guy.
When he's scary, like old Stallone is scary. He has because he's got those like meaty paws, like
Yeah,
that
I mean,
look
he's
like they
also
could just.
huge.
He looks like he could
Yeah,
jab you with his
jab.
fingers.
Oh, he's such a jabbing guy. With
Italian
the,
guy jabbing, like,
old
hey,
man.
hey. I'm talking.
Yeah.
It ain't no paisan name.
Also, the funny thing is that the amount of Stallone wanting to be in a Scorsese movie and never being able to,
Karen!
not being Italian
This
enough.
is Stallone auditioning for every Scorsese movie.
Man,
he does a great job.
Yeah, he does a really great job. I love when he keeps dabbing the loser's
blood. He takes his blood,
and takes the license
writes
plate
it down
on the window of the Slinky Armand. Also, do you think he named his character Armand based on fucking Armand?
Oh, Armand Ansanti?
Yeah.
I think so. Ashanti.
Ashanti.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, go ahead.
He gets away, and then Slinky Armand Benny is like, "No, I better light this car on fire." I like the poorly. He's like, "What did he closed the door? The windows weren't open. Car needs air to burn."
I love that.
We'll
scene
get to that.
too. Well, I mean, it's you've gotten to it. It's great. It's great in that same Breaking Bad kind of way. I'm glad people are reintroducing sort of normalcy in writing because it adds so much more to motivations and how people do things and how people find things out. Because people are bad at covering their shit up, right? And it should be that should be great for fodder for writing. You know what I mean? And I love him getting interrogated and being like, I don't know, I was just doing my driving test.
Like I told you 26 times.
And
so they did this unprovoked.
So unprovoked. Yeah, just boom, boom, boom. That lady detective or a cop was hilarious. That seemed both of those
they were
cops
really
looked just like
they were just like
normal people.
They were just making such like bemused faces.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then
we've got information on you. Then I'm a Leo. I like
Zodiac
Stallone and
also,
Glib Stallone.
I feel like his character should always play the exact age and sign that he is.
Yeah,
they made him a year younger in this.
Yeah. No, I think that they shot this at the time that he was 75. No,
but he's born in 1947 in this.
I think he's born in 1947, actually, isn't he?
No, he's born in 1946.
Because he's older than Schwartz.
He's 1 year older.
1 year.
He wants to be Schwartz. No, I think he wanted to be the age that he was when it was released. So I think maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, Slinky Benny slinks away after trying to light the car on fire. And Stacy's mom's got it going on releases.
Do you know that song?
I do. Stacy's mom. What's interesting too is Stacy's willingness to sort of give Stallone so much of a chance feels a little bit weird. But what I like about this scene where they go to dinner with each other, because Stallone's got a bang, is the fact that like in this moment we get like, oh, she was transferred, oh, 9/11 happened, Stallone, oh, like she's actually like used to be a part of different parts of the FBI because like post 9/11 she was like super good cop and now she's been switched around because of some bad actions. That type of setting up where it's like, okay, like she's got a moral gray area on the right side of the law, quote unquote, and he's got the like morals and codes on the wrong side of the law.
The code of Harry is satisfied.
Whatever, which I appreciate. You know what I mean? Like it adds a level where it's like, okay, I think if you push me a little bit further, I can get to, I believe, where this character is going. But so far, like my favorite characters are Slinky Armand, because I know very little about him, Stallone, Tyson's dad, and Bodhi. Those are my favorite characters. Those are the people who I think are
I like Stacy. I like Stacy
too. Don't get me wrong.
What don't you like about Stacy? Or what's sticking in your craw?
It's just, it feels a little bit like she's not there for me yet with the kinds of motivations that she has. Because it's like helping Stallone. I don't know if she would help Stallone right away.
Maybe the motivations aren't there.
Feels a little bit off.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But they fucking bang again.
Yeah, they bang again.
And after like some like intimacy building Stallone, and like,
oh man, when he calls Chicky Doug Ford.
Okay, so can I blow your mind? Did that guy look familiar to you?
Yeah. Oh, Chicky?
My name is Chicky.
Does Chicky the actor look familiar to you?
Yeah, of course.
Do you know who he is?
No.
It's Dominic Lombardzi from The Wire. It's what's his name in The Wire again?
No way! The wig threw me.
It looks like real Doug Ford hair.
I was gonna say he reminds me of the guy from The Wire from season 2 of The Wire.
He's in every season. He's not season 2.
He's the oh my god! I thought yes, you're right because yes, man, the hair looks
real.
The hair looks real.
It looks real.
He looks
straight
like a
up.
totally different.
He looks like a totally different actor. You know who Anna thought he was? She was like, it's like the Frodo guy. You know, like the
yeah,
the
totally.
Hobbit guy. What's that guy's name?
Yeah.
Sam. Sam.
I'm glad you mentioned that because yes, he did look familiar, but it was like Doug Ford. Doc. Oh, took off 80 years of my life, added 45 pounds, cut my hair, got Botox to look like Doug Ford of Ontario in the 2000s, buddy. Man, the amount of boring that I saw in my own face. I was like, damn, dude, I have to get more outrageous.
Okay.
You're gonna have some competition, dude. Anyway, so Chicky is on the phone with Stallone.
My name is Chicky.
He's on the phone with Stallone, and he's like, "What do you think? I'm weak? You think I can't control my guys?"
Well, I thought this was an interesting exchange between the two of these guys because, like, Stallone totally has reason to think that something happened, that Vince had maybe put a hit on him. Because what else would it be? At this point, Stallone doesn't know that Benny's there.
Oh yeah.
So he's like, what else could it be? He's like, this is the only guy that has it out for me, right?
Yeah, totally.
But also, like, Doug Ford's...
I love that build. I love that build because it's like, setting up people against each other.
Yeah, that's great.
Totally different. Again, this like different reasons, different motivations for different people, just like Victory. But yeah, it's. I loved it. I thought it was great. Great setup.
Cheeky also is like, why would I put a hit out on you or allow a hit out? You earn so well.
Much money from me. Yeah.
He's like, you're a good earner. He compliments the
Yeah, totally.
So like
the sandwich method. Say something good, then bad, then good.
But he's not really, he's just like confused. He's like, I don't know. Like, did you bang some cowboy's wife out there? And he's like,
I love that.
Don't condescend to me. No, he kind of like, Stallone, like,
he did this through the phone.
Listen,
Stallone.
Dude, I think Stallone is actually a really convincing mafia guy in this show.
Yeah.
We haven't seen him flex this. Hey. We haven't seen him flex this acting muscle. He could very easily
He does a lot of this.
But he could very easily be in like a serious, like he could be a serious like boss in a movie.
Yeah, totally. That would be awesome.
I would watch that movie.
Cowlin Waltrip. That's the Nazi's name.
Oh, of course it's always a guy like that with the Cowlin, where it's like old,
it's
like
tiny goatee.
It's old like Saxon names or some shit.
Like the
he's got like
glasses.
spectacles and like a tiny goatee. Yeah. So like he's so like I'm a Nazi, but like one of those
I went to
modern
jail for attempted murder in Attica.
One of those modern ones where it's like kind of I'm a little bit artsy about it.
I'm a little bit.
I've adopted like a Tim Cook kind of look.
Who's Tim Cook?
Isn't that the Apple guy?
Oh, is that what Tim Cook looks like? Tim Cook looks like a Nazi?
No.
Tim Apple?
No, it's what people are trying. I think Nazis are aspiring to look like a Tim Cook. I think that's their version of like updating so that they don't look like
Yeah, well, but we got some good Nazis in the background.
Well, you've got to have those, like the iron crosses and stuff. Like, it's interesting. The Nazi element in this show is interesting.
Yeah, because
it's interesting to add it because they are like in the South now.
Yeah. Well, that's what you go. I mean, who else is going to be the alternate gang?
But okay, so that's the thing. It's like this show is now acknowledging. This is the show. We criticize the show for not acknowledging the Trumpiness of America in the last episode, and this is now the show maybe acknowledging that. But it's othering it.
That's the thing. That's what bothers me about it, is that like
it didn't include it.
That's a normal thing for people.
In America.
Trumpism is a normal thing in America, and Nazism or whatever. These guys aren't even like swastika bearing Nazis,
and that's why it's normal that no one's wearing a mask in Tulsa.
No, I mean that's probably really normal in this movie. That's not the not acknowledging the Trumpiness.
Yeah.
But the fact that there are people in a hospital and they're not wearing it, it's like a little weird.
It's like, I know my rights, but like, aren't you working in a hospital?
Listen, my HIPAA.
Hippocratic Oath?
No, remember when people were like, "Oh, that's my HIPAA. You can't ask me my vaccine status. That's my HIPAA." Do you remember like when
I don't know what that is.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means. Stallone goes to visit the fucking loser in
he's like,
in the hospital.
Hey, Stallone. He's kind
What'll it be, mister?
He's kind of realistically, he's scared, Southern guy scared.
Yeah.
And he like turns off the TV and like gently sits down and hands him like a fucking fat stack.
$10,000.
He's like,
Paul,
what's this?
Paul,
it looks like $10,000.
You're gonna look something up for me. I mean, the police, they're understaffed.
Like low-key threatening.
The funny thing is that talk about like both Stallone and Trump like using the types of mafia ways of code and code speaking where it's like, oh, they're understaffed. Here, take this.
Yeah.
This is for the payment of the hospital that you have to pay for in America because you don't have free healthcare.
It's like take it as my gesture, or like he's like oh, I don't feel comfortable with this. Well, that's because you feel like you haven't earned it, and I'm gonna make. So like this is him like just like stacking.
I loved that.
He's like kind of doing the gymnastics for the guy, so the guy doesn't. He's actually like very. He's
more subtle than Trump. I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
Give me a break. Like forcefully pushy, like cartoonishly pushy tactics. Give me a break.
Cartoonishly pushy that if you put it in Stallone's mouth in this, he could act it better than Trump could.
Yeah. Well, so Stallone is kind of like, all right, I need to know this information and you're going to find it for me because you're just going to do it. And I'm not threatening you, but I'm really scary.
Yeah.
And like, but I'm a really nice guy. Here's $10,000. So it's kind of like, I like, there's nuances to Stallone's character in this. He also seems to want to do things in a nicer, better way, but is also still doing things in the only way he knows how.
Yeah,
it
which
does seem like a heightened, like it does seem like he's read books in prison and he's kind of gotten like a broader perspective.
Yeah,
it's cool, but also like, too. And he's old and he comes from a very he's a working class background of a guy who's like a mafia guy. He doesn't have an education necessarily, and the education he does have is stunted 25 years in prison, kind of like.
Totally.
He's like not, he's not functioning in the same realm.
Yeah.
As other people, but he's doing it the best way he can. Totally. And the way he kind of like holds his hand through the situation is he knows he's like a fragile guy. He knows
he's very fragile.
He knows also he's experiencing the world more. Like he knows that person's triggered. He's like working more with people's like sensitivities. You know what I mean? But still, when he's activated, Stallone knows that like
totally.
He has to like get a job done. It's interesting. He's a traumatized dude.
Definitely. In the next scene, he tasks Tyson to get a new car, and he's like, "This one's a lemon. It's got bullets in it."
He's like, "We got to get it free.
We got to get it free." What do you mean free?
And then just have it in the next scene. They just
have it, which I appreciated too. The like accelerating how the plot goes. It's like we know. That's what I also appreciate about the show, is that like there's certain moments where they do really need to build a certain kind of tension, build a certain kind of drama, and they do. And then other things, it's like, we've established this.
It just moves.
It's fine. It's just great.
moves.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we also get the added like additional kind of character building here where, Tyson has talked to Stallone about, like the guy from Goodfellas. He wasn't fully Italian, but he got to be like a high ranking guy. Can I do the same?
Karen!
And he's like, dude, you're like a nice guy. I don't know. Like I'm not. Stallone is showing also his sensitivity to other people here. And he's like, I've made the estimation. In my estimation, I don't think you're cut out for this.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. He's like, you should be my driver. But he's also maybe limiting him because he's like, you should just be my driver. And it's like, but then he wants to fire him. He's like, you're Severance. You
Yeah.
see that car? That could have been you. You could have died.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, you're a good kid. You shouldn't do this.
He cares about him, which is nice, Stallone. Stacy's mom goes to the fire where the explosion happened, and she finds another dog, and she takes the dog. That's the only thing.
Wait, no,
that
she
happened.
doesn't go to the car. She goes to the explosion of the house.
That's what I said. The explosion of the house.
Oh, I thought you said the explosion of the car.
Did I say that?
I don't know.
Well, we can watch it back.
The explosion of the house that
Yeah.
the libertarian
That
guy,
the libertarian guy
who's a
had.
Nazi, killed himself.
Yeah, and
exploded a house.
She grabs the dog that's left from there.
Yes.
Stallone and Tyson go to the car that Slinky, Armand.
Benny's the
Benny's
name.
And they find that the car wasn't burnt, and they find a little like piece of cloth that says FR, and he's like, they find this
Google.
like
Why
chemical.
did you use Google? They use Google a lot. He's like, I know who you are. I got Google. And he's like,
Yeah.
and so he Googles FR and he finds that it's a horse ranch.
Totally.
Because they also use Google horses and FR.
But also, the reason they know about the horses is because he uses the chemical of horse, whatever.
He's like, it's highly flammable, chemical for horses. Who fucking closes a door of a burning car? It defeats the whole purpose. And just the insides burned.
yeah, which is great.
Poorly thought out, Benny. So he goes, I love this scene. He goes to the ranch and he's like, no, is your boss in? And it's like this cool older lady and she's riding a horse.
Dana Delaney. Yeah, she's so hot.
And
She's so
she
hot.
is, and she swings dick as hard as Stallone, and Stallone
Oh yeah, totally.
respects her for it.
It's like swinging dick in the cowboy kind of way. The I ride horses and my hips and legs are weird.
Bow-legged. Cowboy Alex. Yeah, so she cowboys and he's like I don't know, does anybody from your place kill people? I don't know. And she's like, are you saying that people kill people here? I can't vouch for them outside of work. They're good workers. What do you want from me? And he's like, just, can I ask some questions on my property? No. And he's like,
She was really funny.
and he's like okay,
All right.
how much are writing lessons? She's like, look on the website. It's such a good.
And he like hands her over all the evidence.
She's like, I'm a private investigator. Yeah, and I'm an astronaut.
But I love
The
the
jabs.
fact that the way that they do
Sexual
it.
tension Stallone.
Sexual tension Stallone so much. The way they do it, the nice setup of her knowing immediately that he's not a private investigator is she
looks at his shoes.
He shakes his hand, but then it cuts to that overhead shot where
Of
it's
his
like
shoes.
just the shoes, but it's like split second. It's like if you blink, you missed it totally.
But she looks down. She does look down.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're like, yeah, she knows right away. She's clocked him as a he's a wise guy. He's not a private dick. Private dicks don't have snakeskin shoes.
And what was sad about this next scene when he leaves was Tyson doing the mirror. Are you looking at me? I don't see anybody around here. And then the dad sad in a wide shot being like,
Listen, he can hear him
Yeah.
quietly, and
Yeah.
it's embarrassing.
it's embarrassing.
And
This is great.
It's great because
Yeah.
he's also looking in the mirror and he's like, I need to be this. He's like, he doesn't see another way for himself.
No.
But he like there is this idea. He's like, I tried college, and there's that speech that Stallone gives him. All college shows people is that you're a reliable person.
And that's true. Like,
That is true.
like even honestly, like it doesn't matter what you get, but it does show
That you can sit for 4 years and do a thing.
Yeah, exactly. It shows what people want in businesses for their business. For capitalism. Hey, capitalism.
It's for cows.
It's for capitalism. What ends up happening is Tyson's dad is, who we still don't know his name. Do they ever say his name?
I don't think they say
Anyway, Tyson's dad.
Stacy's mom.
Stallone goes back to the ranch and stalks Benny, who slinks out of his car and drives home so that Stallone can follow him, while getting a call from Stacy. And
she's like, I've got a new dog now. Do you want to see each other tonight? And she pretends to not be upset about it, but she's really, oh, okay. She does one of those, oh, okay. Like, in a way that you're just like, where you're like, I'm malfunctioning because I really mean another thing. But, oh, okay. And it's like, okay.
And
we get it.
He's like,
Stacy's mom.
He's like, what kind of dog do you have? And she's like, I don't know, some old beat up thing. And he's
Seems like you got a type.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's also staking out. He's also like staking out Stallone. And he's like, I don't know. I got to see who wanted to kill me.
And then
and he sees Benny kind of slinking even in the car. He does a this move.
And also he goes home and he sees his kid, and Stallone gets moral Stallone, and he's like,
oh
no.
Oh, but also Benny's saying like, oh, my little man, I love you so much. What have you got? Like the most like sentimental kind of stuff. He's like, hey, little guy, I'm such a really good dad. Look at me.
Totally. So,
And
what would you
Stallone's
give? Would you give?
The episode?
Yeah.
Out of stars for just the episode.
I feel you.
I'm right here.
I'm going to give it a 6.5 because I really enjoyed it. It did feel a little bit, I agree with what you said earlier. It felt like the first episode, and I just wasn't okay with it being as janky as it was because it seemed to really get a footing in the second episode.
Yeah, I agree. It started to have like an overall pace. Like the pacing of the individual episodes are great.
It's been established, for sure.
But the overall pace of the show, this feels like a step back for me.
Yeah.
And I would say the same thing. I would give it about like 6.5.
Stallone's?
Like, no, I would definitely give it like,
you're like an 8.5.
8 Stallones. He did a lot of good stuff in this.
For what the...
How many Doug Fords would you give?
I mean, how many Dominics? I think that, that wig, dude, like it looks just like real sweaty hair, like just like gelled back. The gelled curls, it's beautiful. I love it. I know guys, like he looks like a guy I know, you know, like I'm like, is he Serbian? I don't know. But I would give it a lot of Stallone's. I think for everything it lacked in the episode, it's made up by kind of the characters.
I agree.
Tyson's, I like his arc. Like it was a really interesting episode for him too. But it did, again, highlight how badly written the character is, because some of the lines, like, you know, like, okay, he's a kid. He's 25 years old. I just don't feel like, do you agree with a line like, I don't know, like Goodfellas, the guy, you know, like, I'm like, I just think he would have said something like that, but maybe not like that, you know, like it's a little too naive.
Yeah, I feel like that's the biggest problem. It's that he's both very knowledgeable in the sense of like, oh, I'm looking this guy up, I've seen he's got a rap sheet and I'm working for him, whatever. But again, like 25, like I could believe this for a 25-year-old. It just, something does feel a little off.
Yeah.
It's either that like he's not connecting to the material as much as he could be, or it's just like not really written in the best way.
But it's really interesting that Stallone always really likes having these cross-generational relationships. Like this is a guy who's like, we know Stallone is 75 in the show, born in 1947. This guy is born in 1997. So it's like, it's, you know,
I haven't seen a guy like that in 40 years.
50 years.
I know.
Yeah, so a lot of Stallones, a lot of Dominics,
a lot of Tysons.
Everyone's really good.
Yeah.
Everyone's really good in the show. again, I think your problem with Stacy is more the writing.
I just, you know what, too? I wanted to have the depth of a Sopranos. I wanted to have a depth.
Do you want it to have the depth of even a Better Call Saul?
I wanted to have all of those shows. This feels like it's just at the tail end of something that I wished it had the sort of writing of 15, 20 years ago. Because like we're at the end, very tail end of the, you know,
the golden age of
golden
television.
age of television, and it's been a long time. To me, the golden age ended with Breaking Bad. Like that's when it ended.
We're way more arguably in the silver age.
But yeah, I mean, I would say Bronze Age, because every show feels a little bit like this. Feels like it's being set up like this. So that's mostly my problems with it so far.
I'm still really enjoying it.
I'm really enjoying
great.
it. Yeah, it's really fun.
It's really great to see Stallone play out a trajectory.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
And the slow burn Stallone character development.
Slow alone.
Slow alone. All right. We'll see you next week.
Follow us at More Thirsty on Twitter.
At Thirsty for More Presents on Instagram. And guys, the crown jewel of it all is the Patreon.
I mean, yeah, we gotta get this fucking Patreon, dude.
Let's do it. Join us on the Patreon.
And like and subscribe.
Yeah, like hit that bell.
Hit that bell,
Hit
guys.
that bell, guys.
All right, see you next week.
See you later.